Hello everyone, I pray you're all well. You're welcome to today's lecture on types of soil organisms. If we can all remember, in the previous lecture we covered diversity of soil organisms and we also looked at the food web. Today we are going to look at the types of soil organisms. Soil organisms can be divided into soil flora and soil fauna, and together soil flora and soil fauna form what we call the soil biota. I will start with soil flora. Soil flora can be divided into macroflora and microflora. Macroflora are normally large in size and they range from 20 millimeters upwards. These mainly include roots of higher plants, or vesicular plants, and biophytes, for example, moss. Then a microflora range from 1 to 100 micrometers, and these include bacteria, actinomycetes, fungi, and algae. We will start by looking at the bacteria. Bacteria are very small and they are single-celled organisms. These are the most abundant microbes in the soil, where we see that 1 gram of soil may contain 20,000 different species of bacteria. Bacteria is mainly found in soil aggregates where they are protected from protozoa and mites, which might instead feed on them. Bacteria can be both anaerobic and aerobic, but most of the bacteria we find in the soil is aerobic in nature. The importance of bacteria include decomposing organic compounds, mineralization of nutrients, for example nitrogen and sulfur, to plant available forms, then biological nitrogen fixation, and then they also act as plant pathogens, and this is a negative effect of some types of bacteria. For example, we have Eriniea, which causes bacterial wilt. The beneficial bacteria that we have mainly include rhizobium, which rhizobium helps us fix nitrogen into the soil. We also have other types of bacteria, for example the actinobacteria that are normally known as the actinomites, and these are filamentous bacteria that decompose soil organic compounds, for example chitin and cellulose. And these actinobacteria can also produce antibiotics. Then we have cyanobacteria, and these are formerly called the blue-green algae. These have chlorophyll, so they can perform photosynthesis, and they can also help fix atmospheric nitrogen into the soil. Some cyanobacteria or blue-green algae are symbiotes with lichens, protozoa, diatoms, and algae. The other example is the endophytic bacteria. Endophytic comes from the word endo and phyte. Endo means within and phyte means the plant. So this bacteria is within the plant. This bacteria has quite a number of functions, but the main functions are to fix atmospheric nitrogen and then to modulate plant hormone levels, because it is found within the plant, and by so doing there is normally an increase in plant growth or plant yield and protection against other stressing. The common soil bacteria species include Pseudomonas, Anthrobacter, Atromobacter, Bacillus, Clostridium, Micrococcus, Flavobacterium, Chromobacterium, and so on. And then the other type of soil organisms is fungi, and fungi are microscopic cells made up of spores, hyphae, and gills. Okay, fungi normally dominate at low pH due to low competition, and they also thrive by having mutual relationships with plants. The main types that we have are yeast, molds, and mushroom fungi. The roles of fungi include decomposing hard to digest organic compounds like cellulose and lignin. They also form symbiotic relationships with plants. For example, the mycorrhizal fungi. The fungi can also be used for biocontrol, especially for control of specific diseases in plants. Fungi also bind soil particles together in order to form stable aggregates, and then they also act as pathogens. So this is a negative importance, or it is an effect of fungi. For example, fungi causes verticillium, pythium, rhizoctonia root rots. So most of the rots that we find are mainly contributed to by fungi. Some of the species that are present in the soil include Aspergillus, Botrytis, Penicillium, Alternaria, Fusarium, Verticillium, Muca, Rhizopus, Pythium, and Rhizoctonia. This shows the structure of fungi. For example, in a mushroom, we talked about fungi having hyphae, which are long thread-like filaments, and these are the ones that we talked about as very important in binding soil particles. And then if these form a network, if they're in a network, they are called mycelium. We also talked about mycorrhizal fungi, which is very important in formation of associations with plant roots. So this is particularly important for phosphate uptake within the soil. So by forming this symbiotic association, the hyphae of the fungi helps in order to increase the surface area for uptake of this particular nutrient. Okay, we see that the following management practices can negatively affect the presence of mycorrhizae in the soil. The first one is long-term fallows, then broad-spectrum fungicides and soil fumigants, high levels of nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizers applied in the soil, crop rotation with non-host plants, and tillage practices. So all these can reduce the amount of, or the number of, mycorrhizae fungi within the soil. Okay. Then we have actinomites. We said actinomites are a type of bacteria, and these form thread-like filaments in the roots or in the soil. Okay. Then we also have actinomites, which are a broad group of bacteria like we earlier saw, and these form thread-like filaments in the soil. The importance of actinomites include decomposition of resistant organic matter, for example cellulose, and then formation of associations with non-leguminous plants to help in the fixation of nitrogen. Actinomites also produce large number of antibiotics that kill other organisms which might be dangerous for plants that are grown in a particular area. The other one is microalgae or algae, which forms on surfaces of moist soils where light is available, and we see that formation of algae is helpful for soil conservation and improvement of soil structure. We also see that in paddy fields which are waterlogged, blue-green algae plays a significant role of nitrogen fixation. Therefore, it is highly important. The species include Chlorella, Chlorococcum, Chlorococcus, and others. Okay, so now let's look at the second subdivision of soil organisms, and this is the soil fauna. Soil fauna can be divided into megafauna, and these are large with 20 millimeters or 2 centimeters upwards. For example, the moles, the rabbits, and the rodents. Then we have the macrofauna, which have a size that ranges between 2 to 20 millimeters. For example, the woodlice, the earthworms, the beetles, the centipedes, the snails, the ants. Then we have the mesofauna that range between 100 micrometers and 2 millimeters. And these include the mites and springtails. Then we also have the microfauna that range between 1 to 100 centimeters, and these include the protozoa and nematodes. Okay, so now let's look at the macroorganisms. The first one is the vertebrates. These include mice, moles, and squirrels, and their importance is mixing soil through their burrowing activities. So they help improve aeration in the soil. Then for the macro or meso-organisms, where we have the annelids or segmented worms. Here we see that the most important are earthworms, which prefer moist, aerated, and fine-textured soils with pH of 6.5. Okay, these are grouped in categories based on their behavior ecology. We have the epigeic, which live in or near plant litter on the surface of the soil. We have the endogeic, which live and feed in the upper soil and ingest large amounts of soil. And we have anesic, which are deep burrowing species that feed on surface litter and mix it in the soil. Okay. The annelids have an importance of shredding organic material. They also mix the shredded materials with soil aggregates, and they enhance the porosity and aeration of the soil. We have arthropods, which include insects, rachinids, crustaceans, and so on. And these are normally grouped as shredders, predators, herbivores, and fungal feeders, as we saw in the food web. The importance of arthropods include shredding plant residues, mineralizing plant nutrients, improving the pore space by burrowing in the soil, enhancing soil aggregation, and controlling pests through predation. Then under the microorganisms, we have the protozoa, which are single-celled organisms, but they are larger than the bacteria. In the food web, we see that the protozoa feed primarily on bacteria, but can also feed on other protozoa. The protozoa are mostly abundant near plant roots, where there is a lot of bacteria and organic matter. We see that there are 3 groups of protozoa, and these are based on the shape. We have ciliates, we have the flagellates, and the amoebas. The role of protozoa includes releasing excess nitrogen and other nutrients in their waste, mineralizing nutrients, and helping to control populations of bacteria. The other microorganisms are nematodes, and nematodes are a group of tiny, round, and threadworms, which are mostly 0.15 to 5 millimeters. We see that most soil nematodes eat bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and other smaller species of nematodes. We also see that nematodes can be plant parasites, and they can cause diseases which form symptoms of malformation and dwarfism or root galls and cysts. Thank you so much for listening, and in case you have any questions about this topic, kindly send them to me through my email address or through the learning management system. May God bless you.